What's up, y'all, man? It's Jonathan Owens here, another episode of The Word Spoken. Man, I hope y'all are ready for today's episode. Man, these things are so heightened right now, and that's the point. That's the reason for me talking about them. Everybody been seeing what's been going on. Everybody has been watching. And that's the Bible tells us to watch as well as pray. Man, we're about to dive into these three figures. Why are these three figures, these three people so important right now? Like, why are they so important? Because of, well, the obvious is that all of them have some noise around them about being president. But it's the lies and the deception that the media and everybody, like, why is everybody lying to us? Why can't we not just see what's in front of our face? People are doing certain things and some people are lying. We about to get into all of that because it doesn't make any sense, but this is what is going to happen in the last days. Nobody, Romans 1, God tells us that they're gonna relish in their lies because they have denied the truth. They have denied the truth of God and turned the truth of God into a lie. People are going to be just love lying, twisting stuff. It doesn't even make sense. So let's get into this, because as believers, we got to understand and we got to be on the outskirts looking in. We can't be so ingrained into like too much different parties or different, people to where we miss God in the process. God has to be the one who tells us what to do. It's not about left or right. It's about what God wants. Now, that's going to be a perspective on all this stuff. So let's get into these three iconic figures. As we go into this, hit the like button, subscribe. Man, I appreciate it. That does not only me a favor, it only pushes the video to reach more people for God's glory. That's all it's about. It ain't about me. It's about saying what God has wanted me to say. So now let's start with the most brash and probably the most iconic figure right now, probably in the world, Trump. Man, people cannot get enough of this man. They cannot get enough of this man. And now there's another indictment. There's another one. Like, people just can't get enough of this man. And so as believers, to start with this is woe to America. What does that mean? When the Bible, that means it's an interjection of grief or denunciation. What does that mean? That means when somebody's saying woe, when Jesus said woe, he's interjecting with grief. So when I say woe to America, I'm like, hold up. Hold up. What are we doing, America? Why are we so obsessed with this man? And then why as so many believers or I won't say believers because we be tripping. Why so much of believers of our beliefs that should align with more conservative, why are we supporting things that are not supposed to be supported? What do I mean by that? That means on both sides, we have a lot of black Christians that go for stuff that just blatantly is ungodly, and because if it's a black politician, they go for it. Then we got so much evangelicals, white Christians, who stick by Trump when it's just straight nonsense. So what's going on? So as far as like all this, with just another new indictment, like as believers, like we actually should just steer clear, because we should be involved in politics, because that's what God tells. Like, don't. That's what we gotta be, because that shapes different things in society, and God gave the world government, so you can't run from it. So the problem with Trump is his mouth. That's the problem, and so Christians should still steer clear, because it's like we don't want so much of us to be associated with that, meaning like we shouldn't be so associated to where we ignoring all the things that he's saying over and time again, and the same vice versa. Like, how in the world are Christians are ignoring all the atrocities going on the side of Kamala Harris and all the other black politicians, Raphael Warnock, all these other people that are just spewing ungodly garbage. So it's like, but right now, focus right now, the first person is Trump. So it's like the problem. So I said the problem is his mouth. That's just man, like the man got a problem with his mouth, but it's not his mouth that's the problem. Jesus tells you that. So let's look at this. This is what it's really about. Matthew 15 verses 16 to 20. 16 to 20. Jesus is telling the disciples that he just told the parable. He's explaining to them, and then he's like, "Y'all still don't get it?" So look at this. So Jesus said, "Are you also still without understanding? Do you not yet understand that whatever enters the mouth goes into the stomach and is eliminated?" Because it was taught that you can't eat food like pork and all that stuff and it defiles you. And Jesus is like turning stuff upside down. He's like, dude, the stuff that goes inside of you is eaten and then it's eliminated. When we got stomach acid, it's eliminated. But let me tell you something that you didn't know. Jesus is like, but those things which proceeded out of your mouth come from your heart. Those are the things that defile a man. For out of the heart proceed evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man. But to eat with unwashed hands, that doesn't defile a man. So, and now that's the context in this passage. Other passage where it talks about eating unclean things, that's what I was referring to. But yes, in this passage, it was talking about eating with unwashed hands, as the Pharisees try to call out the disciples on that. So I'll make that correction, even though what I said is another part of another passage that also talks about defiling a human being or a Jew. In this passage, this is what it was talking about. So we see this is what's going on with Trump. It's not his mouth so per se is the problem. It's out of the heart that his mouth speaks. And so out of the heart his mouth speaks is the problem. This is the problem now. Yes, he's been going after, people been going after for like just because they hate him. Yes, some of the things are not warranted. Yes, people just really hate him with all their heart, and that's just crazy. Even though he ain't do good things and he's not a good person, it's like the hate, it shouldn't be warranted because we're not supposed to be hating anybody. And so that's what's going on. And because that's the type of person who he is, Christians shouldn't be going in the back and going crazy. They should say, oh, we like some of his policies because some of his policies was good. It was beneficial for the advancement of the faith, allowing us to have freedom of religion, allowing different things and pushing the stuff that we wanted, abortion and all those things. We like his policy. He's just a man that has evilness in his heart because out of his mouth he speaks, and whatever he speaks is coming down from his heart. And so the pride, the arrogance, any lies, all those things, which all politicians tell lies. Well, I won't say all, but that's a formula for politicians usually. That's what's going on with him. So something wrong, because that ain't good. So why should we be standing behind something like that? You can find somebody else who has good policy and not really like doing all the things that he's doing. That's making himself to be out as like that, like sinful, meaning arrogance, pride, lies and all those things, which Christians shouldn't stand behind. So that's Trump. So that's just getting him out of the way. Now, one of the big issues that we're trying to tackle is right here. And this is thing right here. As living in Florida, I know, we know, everybody know, like, what's been going on. And it just making me just sick because the lies that people are telling. So everybody's seeing what's been going on with DeSantis and the new Florida curriculum where they talked about blacks and like in slavery and having like developing skills like in spite of slavery, develop skills that was used for their personal benefit. And because that language was used in the new curriculum, people are going up in arms and going crazy and race baiting when literally you have you read the full curriculum? So here it is. I mentioned that earlier. Kamala Harris going on TV and straight up lying and then double down on the lie, and it's ridiculous. Like it makes me sick. I'm like, you straight up are lying and telling people that this thing says this when it doesn't. So I'm gonna let me play you this video right here so you can see like it's like a compilation and it shows how her lies has just been doubled down on, and this is the problem, and then we're gonna he's in the video is gonna talk about one of the actual co-authors of the curriculum, Dr. William Allen, who is black, who was over a civil rights position. Basically, you calling him racist too because he's one of the co-authors of it, and he's actually in civil rights, and you saying that he wrote something that was racist. If you're gonna call the leader DeSantis racist, you gotta call the authors of the actual curriculum racist. And of that curriculum, you had blacks, you had Jews, I believe white people. Like you had a mix of people who wrote it. So call them all racist. If you're gonna call the leader DeSantis racist, you go call them all racist. So let's look at this video and let's see what this thing is saying, because it's crazy how her lies get turned upside down. So let's look at this.
Another day, another controversy in Florida. It's not about COVID. It's not about don't say gay. It's not about book banning. It's about slavery. Remember when the left accused Florida of not teaching slavery in schools? Now they're saying Florida is teaching slavery, but they're teaching that slaves benefited from slavery. The Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, is the tip of the spear for this hoax.
In the state of Florida, they decided middle school students will be taught that enslaved people benefited from slavery. They insult us in an attempt to gaslight us, and we will not stand for it. They want to replace history with lies. How is it that anyone could suggest that in the midst of these atrocities,
that's the lies that she has said, and this is coming back at what she's
that's what I want.
Saying
no
like
saying
they're going to come back and show how
slavery.
What she said
no
is lies.
One's saying that slaves benefited from being torn out of their continent, stuffed into deadly slave ships, and brutalized by their masters. No one's saying that. Anyone who read the curriculum knows that. Primetime read it. It's a rich, thorough, and rigorous curriculum which covers over 400 years of the black experience with slavery. Now, one element in this year-long course covers how, quote, slaves developed skills which, in some instances, could be applied for their personal benefit. Instruction includes trades performed by slaves, blacksmithing, carpentry, agricultural work, that through their resilience and aptitude were able to develop under horrific conditions, and then by their freedom are also used to benefit their families once they're freed. Now, there's nothing controversial about that. That's historical fact. Even CNN says Kamala's lying.
Well, it's amazing to me that how little Kamala Harris apparently has to do, that she can read something on Twitter one day and be on an airplane the next to make something literally out of nothing. This is a completely made-up deal. I looked at the standards. I even looked at an analysis of the standards in every instance where the word slavery or slave was used. I even read the statement of the African-American scholars that wrote the standards, not Ron DeSantis, but the scholars. Everybody involved in this says this is completely a fabricated issue. And yet, look how quickly Kamala Harris jumped on it.
ABC News, which is owned by Disney and it's out to get Ron DeSantis, spoke to one of the academics who created the curriculum. He said this.
It is the case that Africans proved resourceful, resilient, and adaptive, and were able to develop skills and aptitudes which served to their benefit, both while enslaved and after enslavement.
But what ABC didn't air was this.
Only criticism I've encountered so far is a single one that was articulated by the Vice President, and which was an error. As I stated in my response to the Vice President, it was categorically false. It was never said that slavery was beneficial to Africans. What was said, and anyone who reads this will see this with clarity, it is the case that Africans proved resourceful, resilient, and adaptive, and were able to develop skills and aptitudes which served to their benefit, both while enslaved and after enslavement.
Now, one of the authors of the Florida curriculum, Dr. William Allen, joins me now. So, Dr. Allen, why do you think Kamala Harris is being dishonest about what's being taught about slavery?
Permit me not to give you Kamala Harris's motives. They are invisible. I don't know them. We can all have suspicions that there's a dishonest purpose afoot. But what's more important than that dishonest purpose is the truth. And this curriculum is devoted to telling the truth, whereas Kamala Harris has retailed a lie. Now, it may only have been a falsehood the first time she stated it, but when you repeat a falsehood, it becomes a lie.
Tell her right now what specifically this component of the slavery course teaches.
Well, permit me to have Frederick Douglass tell her. He wrote an autobiography in which he described how the mistress of his slave owner began to teach him to read. She pulled back the curtain through which a glimmer of light shone before the master forced her to close it. But that glimmer of light was enough for Frederick Douglass to illumine a bright flame that he exploited to his benefit and his country's benefit thereafter. Such examples are numerous, and they are retailed in the stories of people who suffered the indignity of slavery time and again. And quickly, permit me to say, what this curriculum is about is having people who live the experience, who live the history, tell their stories. And nothing is more important than that we never, ever erase the stories that the people who live the stories tell. No one has a right to interpret before first understanding the stories as the people who lived them understood them themselves.
Are there academics that disagree with your...
Man. He just broke it down, and he broke it down perfectly. This is one of the co-authors of the curriculum. Somebody who's been doing this for a long time. So here comes Kamala Harris saying this. It's just like, I'm like, I get so upset. I'm like, dude, why are you lying? Like, why are you lying? And then I found out that DeSantis wrote her a letter saying, come down here and we can discuss it. We can discuss the curriculum. He's like, you can read the letter too. It's online. And he's like, I feel like you are genuine, but let's come down here and discuss it. Unless you got something better, like, you know, he had took a jab at her, and he was like, come down here. He's like, I can have Dr. William Allen on the call, on the discussion at the same time. You can bring somebody else you feel like you need to bring, but let's come down here and discuss this. And she came and then said, I'm not going to come down here and discuss the paraphrasing, discuss the matter. It's almost like she thinks like she's giving it legitimacy. And I'm like, no, you don't want to be embarrassed. That's what that is. You want to come down here. He's trying to have an actual conversation because you keep lying. Because he actually wrote the letter and saying that the president and his cabinet or his people, administration, they're defaming the actual curriculum. They're defaming. You're saying something that's actually false. And whenever you say something false, like he said, he was like, if you said something one time, you're in error. But you say a lie twice, you are a liar. Or you lied. No, you say it twice and double down, you are a liar, dude. And you're a liar about this. So that's what's going on. But then that's what Paul said. He talked about a host of different things, but he said in these last, he said there's going to come. It was happening. I know it was happening in his time, but it was going to happen more. It's going to happen even more in our time, because as time goes on, it's going to continue to get worse, where people are going to enjoy lie. They're going to enjoy lies. They're going to turn the truth of God into a lie. We'll talk about, our sexuality. They're going to talk about like all these different. They're going to have to lie about it because they know the truth. God's already put the truth in them, but they're going to lie. And so that whole mindset of just being comfortable with just telling flat out lies, that mindset and spirit is already out here in the world. People be lying about so many things. It happened. We talked about it. I talked about it earlier. It's not just with hers, with Trump's, with that lying, dude. And that's one of the greatest things that God hates, because he calls Satan the father of lies. Like he was a liar he was a liar from the beginning, and the father of lies. Like he is a liar, and that spirit is out here in this world. People just lying. It makes no sense, man. And so, like, when I heard that was just crazy. And so, the last person, like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Now, to get in contact or get the context. So what I'm trying to say, Gavin Newsome, they basically attentively, on the surface, I guess, agreed to a debate with DeSantis. Now, like, Gavin Newsome apparently is not even running for president, but why is he even having a debate with DeSantis, who is running for president? That don't make sense, right? It's almost like he's trying to, like, just expose him for Biden, or like he want to secretly, run himself in the future, and this is kind of like a test of his debate skills against DeSantis. I don't know what he's trying to do, but there's a new standard that Newsome passed in California, which we already know California is like its own country. It got their own messed up stuff. But he had just, like, I believe, threatened one of the counties with like I think it's 1.5 million in fines if they didn't, go along with the standards of pushing, like, the, all the stuff, the transgender, the students, the kids, on little kids and minors, and everything they're trying to push into schools, like, and that county, I believe they folded because they didn't want to get $1.5 million in fines, whatever the exact number is. They didn't want to get fined, so, like, I guess so, but they were trying to protect their children. Now, if you have, which they have in California, books that show, man, that's oh, wow, like this part right here is like get ready. They have, you probably already saw it. You probably already even like read about it. And the books that show two guys and giving each other whatever that is, stuff to each other. It don't matter if it's two guys, two women. They got everything. They teaching you how to have sex with somebody, or two men, and all these things. And they want to put that in the schools of the little children. Like, this is crazy, dude. And this guy's just leading this thing, and he's saying the most dumbest stuff I ever heard in my life. Like, here's what Jesus said about that. Like, don't take my word for it. So, well, I mean, I just said about it. Matthew 18. Jesus said, he talked about the little children. Like, you mess with them. Like, yeah, you mess with them, it won't go good for you. But let me actually read his exact words what Jesus said, because I want you to know that it's not just me saying it. Like, I want you like to hear exactly what Jesus has said. So Matthew 18. I was just gonna just say it, quote it, but let me let you know. So here it is right here, because man, whew. So here it is, Matthew 18. At first, let's go to the second verse. Jesus called a little child to him and set him on the midst of them and said, "Surely I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever receives one little child like this in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it will be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and that he would drown in the depth of the sea." I had in my mind, that's what Jesus was saying. But I wanted to actually show you, Jesus does not play when it comes down to everybody, anybody. But why is it so important for children? Because children are innocent. They soak up what you teach them. They are sponges. They soak up what no child coming out and growing up is racist. They are taught that. They learn that. No child wants to do those things that they're trying to push on children. No, they are nurtured that way. They are pushed that way. Everybody has attractions that they ought not act on. Everybody has different things, different thoughts that come in their mind. But when you nurture accepting those thoughts, then that's the problem. When you don't nurture that type of thinking, you can nurture them in a way that's acceptable and pleasable by God, and telling them what those thoughts really are, telling them what those feelings are really are. Everybody has stuff that this flesh feels like they want to do. My flesh want to do a whole bunch of different things. But because I have the guidance and the power of the Holy Spirit, I know those things are wrong, so I don't do those things. So it's just like any other child. They're going to have things that the flesh is going to want them to act on. But that doesn't mean they have to act on it. You show them the power of the Holy Spirit and you raise them up in the way they should go. So when they're old, they might not depart from the Lord. But that's what's going on with this terrible governor. It ain't my state, but this is a threat to all children because it's traveling over everywhere. It was in Florida. It was in other places. Books of this nonsense in our schools. So this is the stuff that's going on today, and I want to show you about the stuff that's going on today from a biblical perspective. And I hope that I did that for you. Again, subscribe and like, man. I appreciate all the love and support, man. Let me know, because I want to know what you think. I want to be able to tell you more, because we got to stand up together as believers. It's not about left or right. It's about standing with God. And if whoever on the left or right lines up more with the God Almighty, Christ Almighty, that's who we roll with. So I'll see you next time, and we will dive into another good topic. This is Jonathan Owens. Peace.